going to do a few prokim in Shaar Vehaemunah, starting from Perik Aleph. I'm doing insights. Okay. V'yadaita hayoim v'hashivei shel Avecha ki Hashem hu elikim b'shamayim v'ma'aretz mitochas einoid. Where does this pasuk come from? It's the pasuk in Mishnah Torah. Moshe Rabbeinu is telling the Yidden that they should be careful not to make any pesel, tavnis kol dova shebashamayim, the tavnis kol dova shebamayim. They should be careful not to make any avodah zaros, any pesel. And behemshich to that, he says, "V'yadaita hayoim Hashem hu elikim b'shamayim v'ma'aretz mitochas einoid." What's the simple pshat of the pasuk einoid? That the Eibishter is b'shamayim ma'ahu elikim b'shamayim ma'aretz mitochas einoid. That means there's no other elikim. There's no other balabos. There's no other Eibishter, not in shamayim and not in ba'aretz. And then he's Mosif, besides v'yadaita, that you have to know that there's no other Eibishter, is also v'hashivoi shel Avecha. You have to take it to heart. So the Alter Rebbe's kasha is on the Hisofa, not on the v'yadaita. The shaila is on v'hashivoi shel Avecha. Why does the pasuk add on v'hashivoi shel Avecha? V'tzorach lahavi. Why does he have to add on the words v'hashivoi shel Avecha? V'chisaila al daitcha. Would it occur to anyone that there's another elikim b'mayim mitachas la'oretz shetzorach lahazhi kol kach v'hashivoi shel Avecha? What's the question? Why wouldn't it occur to anybody such a thing? What's the problem with having telling someone v'yadaita hayoim? You should be careful not to think that there's not another elikim mitachas lamayim mitachas la'oretz. Why can't it occur to you such a question? What is the Alter Rebbe's question? You find in the Rambam, for example, the Rambam brings down right at the beginning of Hilchos Yisei LaTorah. In the beginning, he says, "V'im yala ladas," that the Eibush is not there. Chas v'sholom, shehu eino motzui. He says that can't be. V'im yala ladas, that there's two of them, can't be. We just had in Hilchos Tshuva. If yala ladas that somebody thinks that yesh leguf or in Vehaemunah is also he's a min. So all types of things could occur to someone. So what's the question over here? Why not? The pasuk has to tell us. Somebody might have this idea, and the pasuk has to tell us, no, it's a wrong thing. So from here it's clear that the Alter Rebbe's question is not on the idea. You're allowed to have a machshava, and things, all different ideas can come to a person's mind, and the pasuk has to tell of v'yadaita. The kasha of the Alter Rebbe is only on the words v'hashivei shel Avecha. Once you say v'hashivei shel Avecha, that means to say it's not just a seichel-dika thing that came to mind. You added up wrong. You made an equation, that 2 plus 2, and you came up with 5s. If that would be the mistake, then somebody has to tell you v'yadaita that it's only 4, it's not 5. But if somebody, let's say, makes that mistake, would you tell him afterwards that Emerson 2 plus 2 equals 4? The Hashivei shel Avecha, take it to heart that it's 4. Would that make sense? Would you have to tell him to take it to heart? So say a thing, he made a mistake in his mind, you tell him the correct answer. The fact that the pasuk says Hashivei shel Avecha means we're talking about something which is in his heart. His heart is pulling him to this direction. Why would the heart of a person be pulling him in this direction? Now, the Rebbe explains that this kasha is only according to one way, the way we translated the pasuk just now, that ki Hashem hu elikim b'shamayim v'ma'aretz mitachas einoid means that there's ein oid elikim, there's not another elikim b'shamayim v'ma'al, and there's not another elikim ba'aretz mitachas, b'mayim mitachas la'aretz. There is two ways of understanding this pasuk. You don't have to learn pshat like that. Another way of learning the pshat in the pasuk would be that ein oid elikim b'shamayim v'ma'al, obviously there's no other God over there, and al ha'aretz mitachas doesn't mean that there's not another elikim mitachas la'aretz, the way the Alter Rebbe asked in the question. You could understand that the pasuk is being shalom, not the mitzias of another elikim. The Alter Rebbe is being shalom the mitzias of a shalet of another shlita, with a hey, b'shamayim imal. You get the difference between the two pirushim. How do you learn pshat in the pasuk v'yadaita? One way of learning it is that the pasuk is saying there's no other elikim, not b'shamayim and not ba'oretz. There's no other elikim. That means there's not another nimtza over there, and there's not another elikim nimtza over there. That's one way of learning it. Another way of learning it is nobody would ever. No, we're not talking about somebody thinking that there's an elikim under the ground or in the sea somewhere. There's a fish running around in the sea that is an elakah of some sort. Nobody would think of that. According to the other pirish, the pasuk is telling us there is a let's put it like this. The Rambam says, where does Avodah Zarah come? We just heard Hilchas Akum. Where did Avodah Zarah come from? What does the Rambam say in the beginning of Hilchas Avodah Zarah? That the beginning of Avodah Zarah started out in the times of Enosh. They made a cheshvan like this. The Eibishter created the moon and the stars and the sun and all these things. And everybody knows that everything goes according to the mazolis. In other words, the hashpah, milmaila, goes through the mazolis. So they realized that since the Eibishter put them in charge, it's just like a king putting people in charge of his mulucha, how to be mashpir to the people. And it's like the famous mime of Vehaemunah, if you have the right connections with the right people, you might be able to get something more than what they were told to give. So if you have connections with the finance minister of the king, and you're a good friend of his, and you give him a few compliments, he'll give you some more money than the other guy. Why? Because he has a shtickle shlita, he has a shtickle deya, and bechira, what to do, what not to do. So that's where Avodah Zarah started off. They started to think that the mazolis have a deya and a bechira, whether or not to be mashpia. And therefore, if you praise the mazolis and you do certain things, you'll get more. That was the shita how Avodah Zarah started off. Then after Meshech Zman, it came to a worse matzav, that not only they said that the mazolis and the kechovim have a say in the matter, but actually the Eibishter left it into their hands. Ozav Hashem Sa'aretz, the Eibishter took off to some other place. He's not dealing with the world. He's left it in the hands of the kechovim mazolis, and they're in charge. And that's mamash Avodah Zarah. The first mistake that they have a say in the matter is called shituf. The second mistake that they say that the Eibishter was Ozav Hashem Sa'aretz is called Avodah Zarah. But the bottom line is, what is the mistake stemming from? That the Kechavim Mazolas have some type of shlita, have some type of power over what goes on over here. According to the Targum, that's what the pasuk is trying to be shoyl. The Targum translates the pasuk Bashamayim imal v'ha'aretz b'tachas like this. He writes, "The shchinte b'shmayim mela'ela." His shchina is up there in Shemayim. V'shalit al aram elra, and he's shoylet on earth. In other words, the shlita is we're being shoyl that the kechavim and mazoles have some power. And we're saying they don't have any power. But how many elikim are we talking about? We're talking about one elikim. Let's say the kechavim mazoles in one place in Shemayim. And they also have a day in what's being nifta. That's one shitta of learning Pshat in the Pasuk. The other oifen of learning Pshat in the Pasuk is where the Alter Rebbe learns it. That the shlila of the Pasuk is there's no elikim b'shamayim, and there's not another elikim hiding in the water under the ground. You get the difference between the two. Are we talking about a shlita of the kechavim mazolas, or are we talking about another getchka, something under the ground in the mine? The Alter Rebbe learns Pshat that the shlila of the pasuk is to shelo that there's no elikim that's nimtza b'mayim imal. Why would the Alter Rebbe choose that as the Pshat? Maybe we'll get to that later, why he chose that Pshat. There's a heichacha, the heichacha that's the Pshat is from Hemshech HaKsuvim. The heichacha is like this. Beforehand, the pasuk is telling us, what's Moshe Rabbeinu telling the Yidden? You should know that you mustn't make a picture of any pesel of any bria that's in Shemayim, let's say a bird. You mustn't make a pesel of a bird. You must also, you're not allowed to make a pesel of a fish. Dog asher b'mayim. And then comes this pasuk v'yadaita. So what's the v'yadaita split up to? I just told you not to make a picture of a bird, a pesel of a bird. So why not? Because Hashem hu elikim b'shamayim imam. And why shouldn't you make a picture of a pesel of a fish? Also Einoi. There's no other elikim, so don't make a picture of a fish. So since mitzad hemshech haksuvim, the psukim are talking about b'shamayim ma'al that there's no got over there, there's no got over there. Therefore, the yodaita is a hemshach to that there is ein oid elikim, not b'shamayim ma'al, not ba'alis b'tachas. Masha'inkin, according to the Targum, there's no shlila about another got being under the ground. Nobody ever thought like that. It's just maybe the Cheshvan mazolis have power over what's going on over here. But anyway, nachzit to the pshat. That's the question, the shaila of the Alter Rebbe in the beginning. Question is, why does it say v'ashiveisel l'vavecha? Once you say v'ashiveisel l'vavecha, it means that there's some natural instinct of a person that he wants to believe that there's another got under the ground in the sea. Why would anybody think? Maybe the Cheshvan mazolis, we've just understood why people will think that the Cheshvan mazolis are in charge of something. Why would anybody think like that? Because that's the fact. You see that the hashpahs are going through the Cheshvan mazolis. But who on earth would need to be told v'ashiveisel l'vavecha that some fish under the ground in the sea is not in charge? Okay, that's just to clarify the question. The question is only from the words v'ashiveisel l'vavecha. So therefore we're going to have to say that there's another pirush in this pasuk, and the Alter Rebbe is going to tell us a new pirush in this pasuk, which will explain why it says v'ashiveisel l'vavecha. Is hinek siv la'olam Hashem tvacha nitzav b'shamayim. Also here, what's a simple pshat? La'olam Hashem tvacha nitzav b'shamayim. What's a simple pshat? If you look in the Ebenezer, in the Mitzvahs David, it means, what does it mean tvacha nitzav b'shamayim? Your word is strong in Shamayim. What do you mean it's strong in Shamayim? That whatever your geyser, that's what's going to be. Again, that the other Cheshvan mazolis have no say in the matter. Whatever the Eibusher says, that's what's going to be. That's a simple pshat. But there's another pshat, which is the Baal Shem Tov's pshat, that Dvorcha is not going on his gzeiros. Dvorcha means his actual words, his dibur. So this is what the Alter Rebbe continues. Which dibur are we talking about? Upirush Baal Shem Tov. We're talking about ki Dvorcha she'amarta yehi rakir b'seich hamayim. We're talking about the dibur with which you created the rakia. Is tevis v'oisis elu. These very letters is nitzavis v'oindos la'olam. They're standing, and where are they standing? Bashamayim. What does it mean Bashamayim? That they're inside the rakia. And not just generally speaking, but more so muluboshes beseich kol harakia. So every word here is b'diuk. So the Alter Rebbe's ma'asiv is not just beseich rakia b'chlal. He says the muluboshes beseich kol harakim la'olam. And why are the oisius of yehi rakia inside the rakia of la'olam? Achiyosam, in order to give chayes to the rakia.
To what?
To the rakia. Now, in a second, the Alter Rebbe is going to explain why you need to give chayes to the rakia. Surely, if you create something, it's alive. Whatever a rakia needs for life, when it was created, it's alive. So what do you have to continue? But in the middle, the Alter Rebbe just wants to bring a hechacha to the pshat of the Baal Shem Tov, that Dvorcha actually is going on the dibur itself. Kidduch siv. What's the problem that it's going on the dibur itself? Let's think for a second. What does that mean that the Eibishter's dibur is nitzav b'shamayim la'olam? It doesn't just mean that the Eibishter's words are nitzchim. Of course, the Eibishter's words are nitzchim. Everything the Eibishter's nitzchim. It means the Eibishter's words are being said now also. They are nitzav b'shamayim. They are in the shamayim now. So the question is, why do they have to be there now? Says the Baal Shem Tov, in order to give chayes to the rakia. What's the raya that these words are still there? They were said over 5,777 years ago. Why are they still standing in the shamayim? K'dichsiv udvar lekenu yokum la'olam. There's a pasuk in Yeshaya which says that the Eibishter's words stand forever. This is a raya that the Eibishter's words are standing where they are forever. They are nitzchim where they are. And another thing we say in Krishma, we say udvorov choyim v'kayom la'ad. The Alter Rebbe misses out the words in the middle. The dvorim achoyim v'kayom here is also a raya that the words themselves are nitzchim, are there the whole time, because you can't really say the words chayim on something if it would mean just the gzeirah of the Eibishter chay. If the pshat would be that the Eibishter's gzeirah applies till today, you wouldn't have to say the word chayim. Chayim means that the words themselves are chayim. Now, the Alter Rebbe goes back, so why taka does the oasis of the Eibush, they have to be inside the rakia to give them chayas, when they once created a long time ago. Ki ilu hoyu ha'oasis mistalkis kerega, if the letters would disappear from the rakia and go back to their source, it doesn't say that they would stop working or become ois. He says if they would go away from the rakia, mistalkis, and go back to their source, chas v'shalom, v'chayzis limkarim, go back to their source, hoyu kol ha'shamayim ayin ve'efes mamish. The rakia would disappear. V'hoyu kloi hoyu klal, they would be like they were never there before. V'kemoi keidim mayim v'hirakia mamish. What's the Hisafa? V'hoyu kloi hoyu k'mei keidim mayim v'hirakia. He says it would be ayin ve'efes. It's not enough if you just say ayin ve'efes. You might say that ayin ve'efes means that mikam ve'elech it's ayin ve'efes, but it used to be there. So he says no. V'hoyu kloi hoyu would be as if it would never be. It was never created. He says never created, but there's still some memory about it having been created. He says no. As if there was never, just like before the rakia was created. Before the rakia was created, before B'yas Olam, was there such a thing as a rakia? There was no such thing as a rakia. It wasn't created yet. Is if there wouldn't have been a maimah hiruk, if the oasis would go away, the whole mitzias would be nispatel, and not only the thing would be nispatel, there adds on even the zman of the mitzias would be nispatel. That means nobody would ever remember that there was such a thing, because the whole zman that shaykhs to that mitzias would also be nispatel. So lemafrei, nothing happened. So if we think for a second, that means to say that the rakia, and soon the Alter Rebbe is going to say that when they get to everything, is it a mitzias now? Forget, Hayichud Vehaemunah is going to teach us the inyan. Let's say, let's jump ahead a little bit. What is the Alter Rebbe's bia, what Einoid means? We said that Einoid means, the simple pshat means that there's not another lekim under the ground somewhere. What is the Alter Rebbe's pshat of Einoid? The Alter Rebbe's pshat of Einoid, and it has some keres from long before that, is that not just there's not another God, there's not another balabos in the world. The Alter Rebbe's trying to reach the nekuda that Einoid means there is nothing else. There's nothing else. You see a wall, table, it doesn't exist. I mean, it doesn't exist. How could that be? It says Bereshis bara Elokim es hashamayim v'ha'aretz, is a world. So this is a paradox. It's something which the mind doesn't understand. The Eibush created the world, and the world doesn't exist. How could that be? Is first of all, just from these few lines, we already have a little bit of an insight into this nekuda that agam, the world was created. Nevertheless, it's not a mitzias. Something that, as soon as you take away the koyach eliki, would disappear, and not just disappear, it would disappear lemafreya, as if it was never there. That means even now it's also not there. If it would disappear, there would be a zeicha, that it used to be here. There's a footnote in the history book that there used to be a rakia here. Okay, so fine. So we know there was such a thing. You can't say that Bushasi was there, it wasn't there. It was there for a certain amount of time. But if you say that it goes back to what it was, like before it was created, and there's no zeicha b'chlal that it was ever there, because it's kloi hoyu kloi hoyu, or k'mei kodim mayim v'hirakia, that means to say that even now, there's really nothing there. In other words, the schus to exist was never transferred to the rakia. So again, the schus to exist, the rights to be a mitzias, was never transferred to the nivra, to the rakia. If it would have been transferred to the rakia and given to him at least for a certain amount of time as schus to exist, then you can't say it was never there. They wished to created him and gave him a certain amount of time, and now it's not there. But for that time it was there. But if you say it goes back to like it was before it was bichlal created, so that means even when it was there, it was never given the chance to. So who's existing then? He's not existing. Something else is making him exist. Like we're going to see in the second pedic, the mashal of Kriyas Yamsuf, that when the Yamsuf is, when the water is standing, mitzad the ruach kodim azah that's holding the water in the side, even b'shas it's standing, it's not really standing, because he's not standing. Water cannot stand. The ruach is making it stand. So if that's the case, so why is it called chayas? The Baal Shem Tov says that if the letters would go away, it would disappear. So it means that this, what we said, that this, the oisius of Dvar Havaya are machaya the rakia, it doesn't just mean chayas as in like a neshama in a goof that keeps it alive. What's a neshama in a goof? Chayas in a goof means, the goof is there, and the chayas is giving it life force. If you take the chayas out of the goof is still there, just it's not a live goof. So the Baal Shem Tov said, no. Ilu Yitzui, you take away the oasis away from the rakia, it's not that it ceases to live, it doesn't exist anymore. So chayas here does not mean chayas in the simple term. Chayas means here the whole etzem hakiyum of the Metzias. So if that's the case, why is it called chayas? This part is not mefurish over here, but it's explained by Riches in the Kutesichas. Why is it called chayas? If it's not just a chayas, as in a neshama and a guf, it's the whole existence is from these oisias. The answer to that is because there's two chidushim in the Torah of Baal Shem Tov. It's a very important yesod that the Rebbe brings down in more than one place. The Baal Shem Tov's chidush, when you learn this superficially, is teaching us that if you take away the chayas, it disappears. So it has to be there la'olam. La'olam Hashem Dvar Nitzah B'Shamayim. That's a simple pshat. But there's another point which we madgish before, that the Alter Rebbe is madgish over here, B'Shamayim b'soich rekiah shamayim. It's not just there has to be chayas the whole time, but the chayas has to be within the rakia, inside. Not as opposed to what? Not from a distance. It could be something is dependent on something else, but is not inside him. For example, you have the sun shining light. The light is dependent on the sun. As soon as the sun moves away, the light disappears. So the light is dependent on the sun, but is the sun inside the light? No, the sun's over there, and there's a hara going over here. So it's in two different places. The chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov is that Elokus is behislapshus inside the thing he's being machaya. He's not just being mahava him over there, he's inside the nivra, in the mokim of the nivra, there's chayas eloki. In other words, here we begin to see why the Alter Rebbe chose that pshat in the pasuk, that the pasuk is being shodel, that there's no other elokim nimtza b'mayim. Because the whole mistake that people make, why did you choose that pshat? Because the whole chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov is that Elokus is found inside every place. That's the yisoid of Hashgacha Pratis, as he talks about in Perek Beis. It's a big yisoid, that it's not just the Eibishter has to keep it existing the whole time, but the Elokus has to be inside everything, has to be nimtza b'tzoich rekiah shamayim, inside everything, b'slapshus. And that's why it's called chayas, because chayas is something that's from the inside, not from the outside. You can't be machai something from a distance. Chayas means just like an neshama goes inside the goof and keeps the goof alive. The same thing, the chayas eliki has to be bislapshus in the rakia, and that's why it's called chayas. Just finish up a few more lines. V'chein kol ha'bruim shebechol ha'elim esel yonim v'sachteinim v'afilu eretz lazu agashmis v'chenas daimim mamish is the same thing. Even though it's a daimim that doesn't see any chayas in it. Ilu hoyi mistalkis mimena karega. If the chayas would go away from it for a moment, chas v'sholem, the oisius asal mamaris shebehem nivras ha'aris b'sheish rebereshis hoyse chezeres la'ayin ve'efes mamish k'mei lifnei sheish rebereshis mamish. The same thing is not just b'shamayim. The pasuk says b'shamayim. But what happens if? What about the oretz? Is the reason why it says b'shamayim? We would have thought is because again there was the shit of those people that held that the kichavim that in the shamayim, they're in charge. So we have to say ein b'shamayim. What about ba'oretz? The chiddush of ba'oretz is that even though it's oretz and it's a madrega nemucha, it's a much lower madrega, nevertheless there is his slapshus elokus inside every single thing, even if it's a daimon. And that's what the Arizal says, that even in a daimon, there Shomar Arizal, shegam b'daimon mamish k'mei avonim v'ofa, u'mayim yesh b'chinas nefesh v'chayis ruchnius. What chayis is there in an heaven? The hainu b'chinas islapshus oisis hadibim asar mamoris. Hamachayis u'mahaves es hadaimon b'yes yesh ma'ayim v'efes shelifnei sheishis yemei bereishis. So again, we see from the Arizal of Raya that the oisis are behislapshus inside the heaven. This is again the second nakuda. This also answers why the Alter Rebbe doesn't even mention Bechlal that this is Emerson already said in the marriage. This whole being, the Olam Hashem Dvorcha Mitzvah Shemayim, has a mocker. Where's the mocker for this? the Dvorcha Nitzav Hashemayim is going on the Dvar Havai which creates the world. The mocker for this is in a Medrash. The Medrash Rabbah says the same thing. The Medrash Tilim says on the pasuk Dvorcha Nitzav Hashemayim that the Dvar Havai which created the Shemayim has to create the whole time. The Shemayim is dependent on the Dvar Havai. So the Medrash already said this. Why does he say Pirish Baal Shem Tov? So there's many tirutzim on that. Why he brought down B'Shem the Baal Shem Tov? It's not a problem to say in the name of the Baal Shem Tov, even though it's a Medrash. But one of the important things when they get to Havonas and Yonim is that the Baal Shem Tov didn't just repeat the same thing the Medrash said. He added on something else. The Medrash just says that the Shomayim is dependent on the Dvar Havaya. The Baal Shem Tov was Moisif that the Dvar Havaya is Behislapshus B'Seichra Ki HaShomayim. Bashamayim means B'Seichra Ki HaShomayim. Inside Behislapshus. Okay, we'll stop over there.
Shaar, the Rambam says that there's no nefesh